Good morning. You may be kind of wondering what this mess is. Well, this mess is me about to play with some electronics for fun instead of for work. I like that. It's my favorite thing. I did a couple of projects a while back that had some Bluetooth integration, some updates. And I'm going to do the same thing to this. I'm going to do this because teenagers in the bathroom listening to their cell phones with crappy quality, it really drives me nuts. So I'm going to put a little bit better quality. Now, obviously, we're not going to put in a big, huge amplifier system. We're just going to take some speakers that I think these are Blackweb. I didn't even look. I had these hooked up to a Lenovo for a while. They're not the best speakers in the world. I think they cost about $20 from the Walmart. And but they definitely serve a purpose. They serve a function. The LEDs are going out right now. They still work. But I use that Lenovo for something else. So now I have these speakers just kind of sitting there in a box. I have a bunch of these things. But I just thought these would probably be the best prospect. And the reason why is because they already have an amplifier. And it's a surprisingly good little amplifier board for what it is. You know, you've got a heat sink. You got there's actually a driver chip in there. Hard to see. A little diode field. You know, we have all the makings of a fun little mad scientist project. And it's already here. All we have to do is tap into it. We just have to embrace the madness. And that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Which, that brings us to the disclaimer. If you're not comfortable working with electricity, if you're not 100% sure of what you're doing, you are following along at your own risk. This device is plugged into a current limited supply, which means if I make a mistake, as I probably will, I will get a gentle little spark that may or may not sting or tingle just a bit. If you plug this into your 120 volts, check local listings, power outlet, you're going to get zapped really good, and it's not going to be my fault because I told you, do it. So if you do this, again, it's at your own risk. It's choose your own fate book, and you know, you get to pick the page. So having said that, I'm going to go ahead and play with this thing because I've decided it's worth my time. We've got a little heat sink here. We've got our diode field. We've got some capacitors. This is essentially just a little amplifier board. So we have a little amplifier driver back there. Probably op amp. I didn't even look to see what this thing is. All I need to do is look at this and say, this is an amplifier board. Now all I have to do is figure out, well, what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at some real low quality stuff, but it has surprisingly good sound for two little speakers. I'm looking for my pointer. Here's my pointer. So, if you you work with electronics, you already know what this stuff is. If you don't, I'm just going to pretend you're four, and this is my crayon, and I'm going to draw it for you. You ready? So, here we have our transformer. This is just a small transformer that you're going to find on a lot of electronics. We have a primary set of windings. They're going to come in through this cable. This is going to be your plug going to the wall. And you've got your primary set of windings, and that's going to excite the secondary set of windings, and that's these yellow wires coming out right here, which are going into our little amp board. So if we were to turn this thing on, we would be measuring AC voltage coming in from the wall, AC current coming in from the wall, and I know because I just turned it on and measured it, and that's the only way I know, is that it's cutting it down to about 14 volts. So I have my multimeter sitting off to the side here. Let's see if I can get into the shot. Just the end of it here is all we should need. Go ahead and turn that on. Again, don't need an expensive meter. Any cheapie will do it. And this one turns on and it's automatically in DC voltage. So I'm going to switch it over to AC. Get both of my probes ready here. And then I'm going to turn this on. Again, I'm using a limited power supply, current limited power supply. I have something to divert the juice away, to take this, the path to potential, this potential path to ground away from me and into something that's a little bit more accepting of electricity. I am not so accepting of electricity. It makes me tingle in bad ways. So don't do this. And let's check our voltage. I don't know if you can see it or not, but we got about 14.59 volts. And after a quick battery change, we'll be right back. Okay, so where were we? That's right, we were checking our voltage when our battery died. Let's go ahead and check this again. Let's see the voltage from here. We have, okay, 14.59 volts. Now, at this point, we're going to go through our diodes, which is going to rectify our voltage to DC voltage. DC current, excuse me. So, let's go ahead and switch this over to DC. Now I have a ground point that I found. It's right here. It's going to make things nice and easy. And if I hold my probes right there, now I have 6.86 volts DC right there. Now we've got a couple of nice big capacitors. They're in the middle of this thing, and they're basically used to well, the first two of them are going to be a ripple stage, and the third one's just going to add a little bit of boom. Does a pretty good job. So let's go ahead and keep our ground point, and I'm going to go down to the, it's going to be hard to show you most of this, but I'm going to go ahead and go down to this capacitor and see. I have my 9.49 volts DC current right there. Let's see if we can probe that again from the side. How about this? There we go, 9.49 volts, and it's a really stable voltage. So all I need to do at this point is rob some power from right about here and run that through a buck converter. Now that's not going to steal the voltage, but it is going to steal the current. But that's okay. These aren't really big speakers anyway, and this KRC board runs off of just milliamps. So did I show you the KRC board? Yeah. This KRC board is what we're going to use to, it's a Bluetooth module, and we can get them on eBay or Amazon, or pretty much, you know, like those are pretty much your I think if you get them on eBay and you wait a while overseas, I think they're about $6. There's a couple of places in the United States that are shipping them. They're going to take, you know, 5 days or so to get here, as opposed to a month from China. But this is going to be our Bluetooth module. So to make that work, we're going to need a buck converter. Now I haven't dug one of those up yet, but I will. And the next thing that we're going to do is work on the actual circuit. I'm going to have to make some decisions here. You may want to do something different. I don't want to put anything really in here permanent, because I'll probably take those boards back out just to play around with them. This will be a temporary thing. I never usually have these kind of projects up for very long. I'm just going to stick this in the bathroom, turn it on, turn the volume up, and play, like, you know, Thriller while somebody else is in the shower. It'll make me laugh, and I don't care if anybody else thinks it's funny. You know, because just if you hide the speakers just right, as I've been known to do, you know, they'll never know they're there. And there's nothing creepier than when you're in the shower with a bunch of hair soaped up with the shampoo getting in your eyes, and all of a sudden you start hearing creepy noises. And can you imagine if it's coming through speakers in the bathroom? I'll tell you what, if any of you guys like messing with your wives, or vice versa, this is going to be pretty cool. So, all right. I'm going to go play around with this stuff, and I'm going to get some things set up here, and we'll be back. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, I already kind of cleaned up the board. Power's completely disconnected at this point. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to use this wire to connect our Bluetooth module. We've got a couple of sets of wires that are hooked to the board here. These wires right here are going to be the output to our other speaker. So we have, this is our primary speaker that has all our amplifier and control components in it, and this one over here is going to be the other speaker. It's just, there's nothing in that but a speaker. That's it. So and that's the way most of these kind of PC type speakers are set up. So we don't need to disconnect this because we're going to have that output to the other speaker. But we are going to need to disconnect these because these are where our inputs, which it will probably be this, we'll probably use some of this wire, but this will be the connection that goes to our Bluetooth module. So I've already got my, oh, you know what? I didn't change tips. That's okay. So I'm just going to put just a little bit of flux on here. No need to make a big, huge mess. We're just going to heat these up to pull them off. And we'll probably start with this one here. And I might have to change tips. Oh, maybe not. This tip does really well for microsoldering, but you get into some, this is actually considered big for microsoldering. So, and let's go. There we go. So, doesn't have to be all that clean. Probably will let this cool down and change tips though before I go too crazy. So that solder's not looking too bad. Okay, so I've got a big old knot right here. Let's back this out just a little bit. There we go. Got a big old knot right here. I'll go ahead and get this kind of pulled out of the way. It's a relief knot so that if somebody yanks on the cords, it won't hopefully tear the board up. It'll pull the knots tighter in the cords. So there we go, and slide that right out, and there we go. All right, one. Remove the auxiliary cord, essentially, because this would just be the auxiliary plug that you plug into the back of your PC. Well, we don't need all this cord, so we're going to scavenge some of it. Not that much, but enough. So I'm just going to put this over to the side for later, because we'll have to measure it out. We'll have to eyeball it a little bit to see exactly how much we need. So let's go ahead and start working on our KRC 86B board and get that all assembled. Okay, so I've already gone ahead and started to prep some stuff out here. The KRC 86B is a, well, just in case you're not aware of it, it's a Bluetooth module, and what it allows you to do is take pretty much any device that's already set up for audio and connect it to your tablet or smartphone through your Bluetooth option. Let's see, and it's difficult to make out, but it's kind of self-explanatory. And of course, I already added a little bit of flux on this thing, so you kind of see all the hookups are pretty much easily labeled right there. And the pins that we're going to be using are going to be over here on mostly that side. We're not going to be there are additional hookups for some additional controls, but we're not going to be using any of that. So you can easily find a schematic or a data sheet to show you how to hook it up if you get a little confused. But like I said, fairly self-explanatory. We're going to start with our ground, our VCC, which is going to be our power, which is going to be 5 volts. We're going to have our ground, our LED plus and minus. That would be the cathode and anode on your little flashy LED light that comes with it. This is going to let you know that you're actually connected. It's going to flash when it's looking for a signal, and it's going to be a solid color when it's, I think they're blue. It's solid when it's connected to a signal. And then we're going to have something that just there's no connection to, and then we're going to have our audio ground, or audio, our audio out right, and then out left, and then no connection. We have another audio ground, and then we have some other incidentals we're also not going to use. So we also have this little teeny tiny buck converter, and that is what's going to take our voltage down from our board, our amplifier board, to our 5 volts DC to run our Bluetooth module. So we're going to go ahead and start hooking this thing up. And first, so I can get this to focus in here. Down there at the bottom, you're going to see the VCC ground, and VCC and ground, and that was going to be where we're going to put. A little bit confusing, but we're going to put our filter cap. So let's see, ground, negative. So we're just going to go ahead and use. This is what I'm choosing to do. You don't have to. Again, it's your own little world. I'm going to use the legs on my capacitor for something to solder my wires to, coming from my buck converter. So I'm just going to go ahead and take these and just bend them straight over like that, and those are ready to go. So I'll solder those in place. Set that down right there. And let's clean it up. I really should have changed tips, and I didn't. So this might take just a hair longer than it normally would. That's alright. I'm sure we'll survive. we may have to stop and change tips. Yeah, that'll do. So get this in here. Well, that's going to bridge up right there, huh? Yeah. Hey, I straightened it out. Look at me. Okay, that'll do. All right, what's next? Next, we're going to hook up our LED, and that's going to be very, very similar operation. So if we take a look here, we've got our, it's going to be upside down, but I think we should be able to read it. The next two, maybe the cathode and the cathode and the anode. So just, here's the way I remember it. The cathode is the larger flat piece of metal, and that is negative. And if you remember that cats in general have a negative attitude, you remember your cathode is negative. So go ahead and stick this right in here, like, yeah, sure we will. I had that problem 20 years ago. I wouldn't have paid so much child support. Okay, where are we at? Make sure we got it in the right spot here. Negative, negative, yes. Cathode, negative. Anode, positive. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing. And just bend these over just like so. Ah, I put it in backwards. Why'd you let me do that? See, everybody makes mistakes. Okay. Yeah, put it in that way. That makes sense. Okay. Let's spread these just a hair. Glad I got flux all over everything. No, I probably won't edit this part out. Okay. There. Now we'll bend it back the other way because we've already weakened the metal. Okay. There. That looks better. I think. Probably. Maybe. Mostly. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get that somewhat kind of framed. And see if we can add some more solder. It's really difficult to do this behind a camera. Okay, so what is next? Well, I think what's next is going to be, we're going to need to hook up some wires. So before we go really any further with this part, I'm going to do some looking here. Our board is essentially set up. We can go ahead, we can start making wired connections if we want. But before I do that, I just want to take a look at a couple of things. I want to look at this buck converter, probably run a little voltage through it and get it all set up and ready to go. And I want to take a look and see what our options are with hooking this thing up exactly where. I'm probably going to put this on the outside, but I don't know. That's part of the fun. We'll see. Okay, still kind of trucking along, getting our connections all set up here, and I just wanted to show you that that's why we leave the stems on our capacitor. So now I've got a little bit of heat shrink tube. I'm just going to go ahead and slip that on there. I want to make sure that we're electrically insulated all the way. I don't want any bare wire showing where it could kind of cause some problems. And pop on my hot air station here. Get that all shrink wrapped up. Okay. Alright, so we can probably go ahead and clip the tails on our diodes here. It's really difficult to do around a camera. That's why I tend not to do it. Okay, so we still have a few more connections to make. These are going to go out to our buck converter, and then that's going to go from our buck converter into our speaker, and then we're going to have to hook up our speaker wire. So I'll come back when I have some more of this done here. Okay, so I shot this a couple of times and I'm reshooting it. I'm having a really hard time showing you everything, just because of the limited scope of the camera and how I need to move things, and once I put power through it. So just bear with me and we'll see if we can get through this. We got our power off of a jumper and ground on the board, and that was about let's just say around 9 volts. And that power is coming out of the red and black wire right here, and it's running into our buck converter. The way our buck converter works, let's see if I can zoom in on this. Again, a lot of you know what it is. Some of you have never heard of one before. And these are just little modules that you can get. And the way this would work is you put a DC current on one side, and the board is marked on the back, but I can't turn it and show you right now. Everything's very delicate. And then as you can measure the voltage output right here, and this, as long as you put more than the minimum output, so in this case we're going to bring this down to 5 volts DC. It's actually just a hair over. As long as I'm putting and each buck converter is different, but in this case I think this one goes up to like, I don't know, 12 or 15 volts. It's going to put out that you can adjust this little potentiometer right down here, this little screw, to bring that voltage down. So we're going to bring our voltage. We have our 9, I think around 9 volt input, and we've brought that down to 5. It's like 5.07 volts output, and our Bluetooth module needs between 5 and 5.5 volts in order to work. So we've got everything all trimmed out. Everything's wired up. I left everything out of the speaker box so that we could see it. And then back this up just a little bit. You can see that one of the speakers is out, so it doesn't sound all that great. But I mean, just, you know, it's the other one's all intact, and it's actually got a little horn up there. So we can test it out. And the way we're going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and turn the power onto the speaker, and you will see that I have the Bluetooth disconnected on my phone right now. You will see that we'll have our power light on our board, and our blue LED will light up and start to blink, hopefully. So there's our green LED. Can we see the blue? Yeah, we can see the blue flashing, should be able to. So that's going to continue to blink like that until it gets a signal. So we'll go ahead and turn on our phone here. I'm going to go ahead and turn my Bluetooth on, and it is probably going to automatically connect to that. And I have renamed it Bathroom Surprise. It's going to show up as a KR86B, KRC86B, and you can change your name. So I've done that. So we'll go ahead and connect to that, and it is now connected. You can see our blue light has stopped blinking. We have a solid blue light. So let's go ahead and play some YouTube royalty-free music. It's so wonderful. So that is coming through our speakers. Have the speakers are just kind of set up right here. Like I said, I know it's not the best in the world, but it's definitely doing the job, and it's you know, much better than what it would be if it was just coming out of a little phone. So again, I'm sure it's not going to transfer that well through the camera, but we definitely got a little bit of an advantage now, having 2 4-ohm speakers with, you know, a little bit of power put through them, and it's going to work out pretty cool. So all right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this part of the video. I wanted to keep it quick. I think this is about as quick as I could do it, and you can kind of imagine how it's going to go back together. I still haven't determined whether I'm going to put my stuff right outside of the speaker or inside of it. But it's all done. We can go have some fun, and I'm gonna hide these suckers in the bathroom and just wait for somebody to take a shower, giggling like a schoolgirl all day. So, all right, you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.